because farming, modern day farming, causes so much damage to the environment. Actually having the verges and the disused parts around it is actually good for the environment. But forget all that, that's the facts. What we're interested in here is the emotional idea. In other words, what's happened, and Roger Scruton, who's a right-wing philosopher, thinks it's extraordinary that the Conservatives have let go of the argument of environmentalism and the left wing have taken on the environmentalists' bandwagon. How did that happen? What did happen? The environmentalists start to say, we need to look after the environment. And left-wingers and liberals say, yes, we need to look after the environment. We are conservatives. We want to conserve things. And yet they get into a classroom, the same people who would say, oh, I want to conserve this, conserve that, right. Shakespeare, hey, rubbish, let's get into 21st century skills. And let's not talk about any of that stuff that we should be teaching, which is the grammar of your memory. The grammar of your memory that you pass on from one set of people to the other. But we do tend to think of things in terms of the dichotomy. But if you do another trick, you can actually do a dysoilogomy, or do what the Greeks did. See things as a whole. Now, if you start to see things as a whole, and I'm talking here, it's a real dichotomy, but if you start to see that as a whole, I'll give you an example of this. If you go into Houses of Parliament, you see the dichotomy, left against right. Well, there was, wasn't it? On one side, a coalition with some left-wing people-ish. Anyway, there's an argument going on there, the way it's set up, okay? But the whole building itself holds that together. The building, the institution of the Houses of Parliament holds the argument together. The dichotomy is held. It's not a false dichotomy, but it is held together. And that's my model for a classroom. You don't dismiss it as a dichotomy. What you do is hold it together. You hold the argument in your hands between those who want to hand things on and those who want to question. Those who want to say this is important and those who want to question whether it's important. The problem is do you ask the question straight away? Now, if I played to you now, I Vow to Thee, My Country, which is a gorgeous song. Got a bit of, it's from, the music's from Holst. And the lyrics are very, very controversial. Now, if straight away you came in and said, but blah, 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 and started attacking it, would you have absorbed it enough to try and understand it on its own terms? When you teach something, when do you allow the questions to come at you? Do they come quickly at you? Because if I say to a group of year sevens, here is an aria from Tosca. They say, shoot. Straight away their comments come back. At that point I've got to tell them, no, you're shit. Because you're not listening. I want you to listen, I want you to absorb, I want you to feel and drop all pretense of trying to say things are shit. I took a group of kids to see Endgame. Year 10s and year 11s to see Endgame. And at the end of it, end of Endgame, this kid comes up to me and says, "That was shit, sir." And I said, "James, you're right. Life is shit, and then you die." That's exactly what Endgame is about. And he went off like... So sometimes when he says it's shit, it's quite good. So take everyone to see Beckett and nothing else, and it work all the time. But sometimes we allow kids to respond too quickly. We let them have views when they shouldn't really have views at all. The one I always say is, you just drink Coca-Cola, I drink red wine. If I give you red wine, you'll say it's shit. Wait till you're mature, then come back to me. Your taste buds aren't ready yet. They've just come off your mother's nipple. It's still very sweet. You want sweet stuff all the time. What you should be doing is waiting till you're later and develop to the more bitter tastes. They look at me strangely when I say that. Especially when I go on about McDonald's and things like that. The ideal. It's also, the word also means knowledge. So think about the Greeks, they can throw loads of meanings in. We've categorised things, but they have words that seem to hold lots of things together. Art. So what do we teach with art? How do we teach? And this comes into the trivium. We teach grammar, the rules, the foundational knowledge, how to do the art. We hand it on. This is great art. We hand it to them and say, right, now you have a go at doing great art. And they start to play around with great art. And they try and do it, and we say, no, that's not quite right, try and do this. And they say, to a point when they start to do it more and more. And just like getting a child to ride a bike, we start to withdraw slowly. And then, by the time they've got to the point where they're not wobbling too much on the bike, off they go, when they're actually doing the painting, when they're doing the drama, when they're doing these things. They've taken the art on, and now it's theirs. For them to do with what they want, with the art that we've given them. With the idea that it should be excellent, that it should be morally, intellectually, physically, and practically, in every way excellent. Pull all those things together. We let them go. And in other words, that follows the trivial. Grammar, the knowledge, dialectic, the practice, the argument, the getting hold of it, the understanding of it, and the rhetoric, the expression of it, which becomes theirs to do. And what we do in schools a lot of the time is give them some grammar, not very well, and then give them some rhetoric as long as it's the grammar we've given them. We don't let them do the stuff in between. And if you like, it's a bit like handing the baton on. We have the baton, here we are, it's memory, it's cultural memory, it's everything we value, it's civilization, it's all those things, it's Shakespeare is better, it's broccoli is good for you. And we hand it to them, and it'd be a rubbish race, because then we hold on for a very long time with the baton, and go with them like that. And then at some point, they get hold of it and take it on. And that's what we should be testing in schools, is how well they take on and have adapted it and changed it and made it their own. A chap called Dick Fosbury was quite good at high jump. And he kept doing his high jump, straddling over the bar there, and he was quite good and all that sort of stuff. But he had a very awkward style, and the coach said, you've got to sort that style out, and holding on to it. And he started to sort it out a bit, but then he started to get it wrong. And he started, at some point, he went over backwards. And when he went over backwards, he suddenly went up another 6 inches in height. And the coach said, you're doing that wrong, but you're going higher. And what Dick Fosbury had done was take the grammar. He was given the baton. And he said, you're doing it wrong, and they've invented it. And now everyone does the Fosbury flop at high level meets, like the Olympics and so on. They all jump over backwards because they've done something with the art. There is something about the dialectic that's important. But if you hadn't got the straddle in there first, you hadn't got that bit, he'd never have got to that bit. He'd never have adapted it. He wouldn't have gone straight, right, first day, go, off you go, do a bit of high jump, I'm going to sit here and be the teacher as a guide on the side, off you go, jump over. He'd never have found that. He found that by knowing the way of doing it, and then doing it wrong, and finding it difficult and not quite sorting it out, and he comes to there. So where are we on curriculum? This was the Mick Waters curriculum. This is the Gove curriculum. And the best is arguable. But it is there. You know when you love someone more than anyone else in the world? It's true. It's not always the same person as everyone else, but it's true. My daughter's the most beautiful thing in the world, you know? She is. True. You try and argue with me. Okay? We need the best that's been thought and said, because we're not sending memory out there. We're not. The D-Day thing is about the best that's been thought and said, and talking about that. It's important to our cultural heritage. We need to teach such things. We need curriculum that says things, that gives us knowledge, that passes knowledge on. It's our collective memory. We need that. It makes us who we are as a people. But we need to be able to do other things with the curriculum. Independent learners don't start by being told to get on with doing their things. An independent learner who, for instance, Mozart playing piano or whatever it is, an independent learner starts with the rules and the grammar before they can even become independent. Dick Fosbury needed to know about stuff before he broke the rules. You need to know about things. What's creative? You need to know stuff. To break the rules, you need to know stuff. To be creative, you need to know stuff. If you don't know stuff, you can't be creative. Kids can be creative, can't they? Look at them, they're creative from the day one. Well, they're not creative if they're not doing it consciously. You don't unconsciously create things. You consciously create things as an artist. You go through the discipline of knowing the art in order to break it. So what did Burke say? Because Rousseau, man is born free, but everywhere is in chains, so therefore we should release you from now and everything is going to be free. Burke believed in trusteeship. He believed in handing stuff on. We have a social contract. This is Rousseau's social contract with us in the now. Burke has a social contract with the people of the dead, the living and the unborn. We take on the knowledge of the dead, we pass it on to the living, we talk about it, we argue about it, we change it, make changes to it, and then we give it to